Hey, what's up guys, my name is Charlie. Today we're going to be doing some more requested reaction videos, and this video was requested by Pi Pivot Monitor. Hopefully I pronounced your name correctly, because if I'm not, I've probably lost a subscriber. But yeah, let's check out this video. It's called Aladdin Deck Enhancer by Gaming Historian. Oh boy, I believe the Angry Video Game Nerd actually reviewed the sort of Aladdin Deck Enhancer. I believe it was like the one where it was like the genie dancing and stuff like that. It was pretty cool. When I was too busy counting the beer bowls instead of looking at the ET cartridges. But yeah, let's check out the video, shall we? Let's go.
When you decide to get serious, there's only one place to come. The games of Super Nintendo.
In 1993, the North American console wars were in full swing, with the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis competing for the top spot in the market. Developers and manufacturers were hard at work to make the next great 16-bit games and accessories. But one
Sega
company
CD.
was stuck in the past, Camerica.
America.
Camerica thought it would be wiser to appeal to the more than 30 million consumers who already had an 8-bit Nintendo Entertainment System. So in 1993, they announced the Aladdin Deck Enhancer, a device you could plug into your NES and play special proprietary compact cartridges. Why?
Special.
Because not only did the Aladdin
Emphasis
promise
on the
additional
special.
memory and graphics power, but the cartridges were $30 to $40 less than a traditional NES cartridge.
It's good for
Never
a cheap
heard of
man's
it?
game, so...
That's no surprise. Camerica quickly went under after the product was announced in January of 1993. It's questionable if the Aladdin Deck Enhancer ever got a retail release, and it's mostly only known today in collector circles. So, let's take a look at the Aladdin Deck Enhancer,
It's gonna be
the
pretty
company
cool.
behind it all, and why it faded into obscurity.
Was there only 6 games? Damn.
Camerica was founded as a giftware wholesaler in 1987
Like
by
the
David
virtual-
J. Harding. Based out of Ontario,
Virtual Boy.
Canada, Camerica
Limited
sold
games.
items such as porcelain bears, pottery, and crystal glassware to gift shops, but they soon got into the fast-growing video game business.
Oh boy.
Their first products were wireless controllers for the Nintendo Entertainment System, such as the Freedom Stick and the Supersonic Joystick.
Pretty good.
Camerica also
No
made
wires,
the
a lot of
Freedom
batteries.
Connection, which turned any controller into a wireless controller. They had a few wild ideas teased in magazines, including a portable Nintendo Entertainment System called the Nintendo Express, but they were never released. Camerica really hit it big in 1990 when they released the Game Genie,
Game
a device
Genie.
that allowed players to add and create cheat codes
Yeah.
for their NES.
Everyone
games.
had the fucking
A
game.
video game
Genie.
company based out of the
I
UK
had that.
known as Codemasters developed the Game Genie. When founders Richard and David Darling went to Nintendo to inquire about licensing, they were turned away. So
Damn.
instead, they licensed the device to Camerica. To help with distribution outside of Canada, Camerica licensed the Game Genie to toy company Galoob, which would distribute the device throughout the United States and Europe. Nintendo quickly sued everyone involved to prevent the Game Genie from coming to
Nintendo
market.
sued,
But
obviously.
ultimately,
Fucking Nintendo sues
lost
everybody.
the lawsuit. The Game Genie went on to sell more
Drop a
than
Nintendo
2.5
Entertainment
million
System on
units.
controller on the floor.
It was so
They'll
popular
sue your
that
ass
Codemasters
for damages,
made versions
even
for
though it's
Game
your
Boy,
property.
Game Gear, Sega Genesis, and Super
Fucking
Nintendo.
Nintendo's suing everyone.
The Game Genie also helped establish a strong relationship between Camerica and Codemasters. The two companies formed an agreement where Camerica would essentially become the sales distribution arm for Codemasters products. Camerica decided to publish several of Codemasters' games as unlicensed Nintendo cartridges. The cartridges were either gold or silver, and each one had a switch on the back to get around the NES lockout chip. Depending on the version of NES hardware, players would set the switch to either A or B.
Yeah.
The switch
I think they
essentially
had that the same
crashed
on the
NES
Zelda
lockout chip,
game cartridge,
allowing
I
the
believe.
games to play. They put out several titles, including Stunt Kids, Super Robin Hood, and The Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy. Camerica relied heavily on grassroots advertising. They would release titles to rental stores 30 days in advance so players could try the games out before buying them.
That's a good
They
idea.
also advertised on the Home Shopping Network, HSN got
Smart.
30-day exclusivity before the games hit stores. They even signed 1990 Nintendo World Champion Thor Ackerlund to an endorsement deal.
Damn.
Ackerlund promoted the games in magazines, commercials, and on the Home Shopping Network. Comerica games weren't sold at massive toy chains like Toys R Us, but they were widely available at department stores like Walmart, and smaller chains like Electronics Boutique and KB Toys. Comerica and Codemasters' unlicensed games sold relatively well, but the biggest problem was developer costs. Making unlicensed games was expensive and time-consuming, and the profit margins weren't great. Richard and David Darling of Codemasters thought there could be a better way, and they came up with the Aladdin Deck Enhancer. Traditional NES cartridges contain several components, including the game ROM chip and security chip. The problem was, every time a cartridge had to be made, every single component had to be included, making costs high. Codemasters took most of the chips and put them inside the Deck Enhancer.
Smart.
On the game cartridges was just the game ROM. Therefore, companies could develop games without having to pay for extra chips on every cartridge, which would make games significantly cheaper.
Yeah.
Comerica thought the idea was brilliant and agreed to license and distribute the device. While a large portion of the gaming population was moving on to the 16-bit systems, there were more than 30 million NES systems already out there. In fact, many parents were upset that the 16-bit Super Nintendo wasn't backwards compatible with the NES and refused to upgrade.
I'm going to say no, and I'm going to explain to him how people market things to make you spend more money.
Comerica thought they could take advantage of the lack of new NES games by introducing the Aladdin with various budget titles. It could extend the life of the system. In 1992, at the Summer Consumer Electronics Show, Comerica teased their new product, which at the time was called the Aladdin system. A Swedish magazine, Nintendo Magasinet, seemed to like the idea, but also stated, "What Nintendo's lawyers have to say about this, we don't know." On January 7th, 1993, at the Winter Consumer Electronics Show in Las Vegas, Comerica
It's time
unveiled
to
their
win
new
again
device,
with 8 bits.
the Aladdin Deck Enhancer, to the public. The Deck Enhancer itself would retail for $39.99 and come packaged with a game. Additional games would cost between $17.99 and $19.99. At the time, Comerica was only planning to release the Aladdin Deck Enhancer in North America. Comerica president David J. Harding boasted, "Our Aladdin Deck Enhancer is like a wish in hard times for families that have longed for quality video game entertainment at a recession-busting price."
That's a good summary.
So, now that you know more
It's a
about the
cheap
history,
budget
let's
console,
talk
so-
about the actual device. Let's take a look at the packaging.
Okay.
The bottom right corner says the Deck Enhancer will upgrade your Nintendo Entertainment System. Oh, that's interesting.
Let's-
Upgrade it with what?
Yeah.
According to the back, the Deck Enhancer has a 64K memory upgrade for better graphics and bigger games. But this is all just marketing hype. The Aladdin Deck Enhancer is no different than a standard Comerica cartridge. Inside the box is the Deck Enhancer with instructions, along with a Dizzy the Adventurer cartridge and a poster manual for the game. Believe it or not, there are two versions of the Deck Enhancer. The first version has an A/B switch, just like their unlicensed games. This is to get around the NES lockout chip. Version 2 removed the switch as they found a way to automate the whole process. A word of caution. The Aladdin Deck Enhancer only works with the original toaster design of the Nintendo Entertainment System.
I heard it could
If you
fry
try
the
to use
console.
it on a top loader, it could potentially fry your
Yep,
system.
I heard that. Yeah.
It also needs the
Fuck.
NES lockout
That's
chip
insane.
to work, so it doesn't work with
it's
third-party consoles like the
overcharged,
Retron
maybe?
or the
Too
Analog
much.
NT Mini. To use the device, just plug in a compact cartridge into the
static.
Deck Enhancer, then use it
Overloading.
like you would any NES cartridge. They even come out to about the same size. So how about the games? The Aladdin Deck Enhancer only had 7 games.
Yeah,
And besides
7,
the pack-in
wow.
title, all of them had previously been released as a standalone cartridge. Comerica did tease future titles on the back of the box, but the company didn't last long enough to release any of them. We'll start with the pack-in title, Dizzy the Adventurer. This is a port of
Dizzy the
Dizzy,
Adventurer.
Prince of the Yoke Folk, which was
Prince
released
of
on
the
several
Yoke.
computer platforms, including the Commodore 64 and Amiga.
Commodore
Your goal is to
64.
rescue your girlfriend Daisy, who is locked away in a castle. The best way to describe this game is an adventure platformer. Rather than attack
looks
enemies,
actually
Dizzy
sort of
must
good.
collect items and use them to solve puzzles. It's fun trying to figure out which items Dizzy needs to use to get around certain obstacles. You'll also get to interact with a bunch of different characters, including Dizzy's, pet,
What
Hoagie.
the fuck is that?
The Dizzy games were made by the Oliver twins, a pair of developers who collaborated with Codemasters on many titles.
I guess they're
They made
eggheads,
a lot of Dizzy
but
games. There are more than
sorry.
15 titles in the franchise.
Oh, that was so
But
bad.
as far as Dizzy the Adventurer goes, it's a lot of fun. Once you beat it, it's not as exciting since you know what to do the second time around, but it's still one of my
The animation
favorite
and
games
graphics and
on the
artwork
Aladdin
looks
Deck Enhancer.
absolutely great. I
Next
can't
up
complain.
is Micro
Looks
Machines.
respectable.
Micro Machines is probably the most
Micro
well-known
Machines.
game from Camerica, thanks to the popularity of the toy franchise. This is a top-down racer where you get to race with different Micro Machines in scaled-down racetracks, like in a bathtub or on a table. You also get to choose your racer, and it's...
Yeah, it looks
As
like
you
it,
win
doesn't it?
races, you'll add cars to your Micro Machines collection. This is another fun title on the Aladdin Deck Enhancer. We're 2 for 2 so far. But as I mentioned earlier, you can also buy this game as a standalone cartridge. Now let's look at Big Nose Freaks
Big
Out.
Nose Freaks
This is a
Out. What the fuck?
platformer where your goal is to collect all of your stolen bones.
Why
But
the
instead
fuck
of
does this
walking on
remind
2
me of
feet,
Chuck
Big
Rock?
Nose rolls around on a wheel. It almost feels like a Sonic game. Momentum plays a big role in making some jumps.
I don't
and
know,
you
this
can even
reminds me
launch
of like
off
Chuck
ramps.
Rock for some
Collecting
reason.
power stones gives you a projectile you
I
can
think that was
fire.
for the
But once you get
Sega,
hit,
I believe.
you
Can't
lose
remember.
the power up. Get hit again, and you're dead. Jumping on mushrooms reveals power-ups, but it can also cause problems. Sometimes it will cause a lightning storm, or even reverse your controls. Big Nose Freaks Out is a decent platformer, but can be a bit of a challenge. There's also no music in any of the levels, which was an odd choice. I found the prequel, Big Nose the Caveman,
Big Nose
more
Caveman.
enjoyable. Camerica was planning to release this on the Aladdin Deck Enhancer, but it never came out. Here we have 4 games in 1 with Quattro Sports.
Wow, 4
The
in
4
1.
in 1 cartridges were unique to Camerica, and they marketed them heavily in their advertisements. Unfortunately, most of these games are poor.
Yeah,
First
always
up
the
is
4 in 1
Baseball
games
Pros,
suck.
featuring
It's always the
teams
sport
from around
games
the
that suck
world,
the most.
including the Fightin' Bears of Moscow. This game is bogged down by issues. Fielding the ball is almost impossible. You can only control your pitcher in the infield, and you can't move your outfielders until the ball passes a certain point. There's also no force outs. You have to tag everyone to get them out. Luckily, you can easily throw a no-hitter by throwing sliders over and over.
Okay.
The CPU just refuses to swing at this pitch. Next is BMX Simulator. This is
BMX
another
Simulator.
top-down racer. I just couldn't get the hang of this game. It was
I
extremely
hate
difficult
bike
to control
games.
my guy, and I kept running into
suck at
stuff.
'em.
The third game is Soccer Simulator.
Soccer.
Everything in this game just feels very slippery. I feel
yeah,
like I
it's like
never
a
really
bit
have full
slippery.
control over what's going on. I actually think it's faster to slide tackle around the field than to actually run. You can't switch players either. The CPU will just select the closest player to the ball. Overall, a pretty frustrating experience. And finally, there is Pro Tennis Simulator. The ball physics in this game just feel off. The only way to properly serve the ball is when it's down by your face, which doesn't make much sense.
Yeah.
You'll also feel lucky just to hit the ball. Quattro Sports is a mess. Thor, you lied to us all.
Quattro Sports gives me 4 great games on one cartridge. Quattro Baseball is incredible.
Let's move on to Linus Spacehead's
Bullshit.
Cosmic Crusade.
Linus Spacehead.
You play as an alien named Linus who must
Linus.
prove to his
What,
buddies
Linus
that
Tech
he
Tips?
discovered the planet Earth.
I love Linus Tech.
This is another platformer adventure game, but with more of an emphasis on platforming. The problem is the controls. Controlling Linus is a chore.
It looks really
You can't change direction mid-air,
rough.
so once you commit to a jump, there's no correcting it. Linus sometimes just won't stop moving, making
Yeah, the
platforming
controllers look
extremely
really
difficult. I gave up on this game
tough and
pretty
slippery,
quickly.
like Glade.
Here is another 4-in-1 cartridge.
Oh,
This time it's
4-in-1.
Quattro Adventure. Does it fare any better than Quattro Sports?
Let's
Yes,
see.
it does. The first title is, oh boy, another Linus Spacehead game.
Oh, Jesus.
It suffers from the same issues as Cosmic Crusade. Hard pass. Next is Super Robin Hood. This is
Super
another
Robin
game
Hood.
from the Oliver
What
twins,
is he,
the creators of Dizzy.
Superman
You
Robin
play
Hood?
as Robin
What's so
Hood,
fucking
making your
super
way through a
powered?
dungeon and collecting keys and treasure. You also have a bow and arrow you can shoot to defeat enemies. It reminds me a lot of Lode Runner, which is a good thing. The third game is Boomerang Kid. This
Boomerang
feels like
Kid.
an old school arcade game. The goal
That's
is
a
to
pretty good
collect
name,
boomerangs
Boomerang
and
Kid.
exit as fast as possible, all while avoiding the dangers of the outback.
Fucking
Despite
worms
being
and
the
snakes,
Boomerang Kid,
kangaroos.
you don't actually get to
fucking
throw a
floating
boomerang. You also can't fall from heights, or you'll lose a life. It's not a bad game, but it's also not a very exciting one.
Yeah, it's just a
The final
meh
game in Quattro Adventure is Treasure Island Dizzy. This is similar to Dizzy the Adventurer. You collect items to solve puzzles and get past obstacles.
Okay.
However, it doesn't run as smoothly. It's also more
Oh, yeah.
difficult because you only get one life. This is frustrating because there's a lot of gotcha traps in the game, so it's a lot of trial and error. We have reached our final game, The Fantastic Adventures of Dizzy. This is the biggest
Jesus.
Dizzy game on the NES. It also won Best Adventure Game in Game Players magazine. Dizzy's girlfriend Daisy has once again been kidnapped,
Of
and you have
course.
to rescue her. This is
Why
your
is it
standard
she
Dizzy
always
game.
getting kidnapped?
Collect items
Fucking
to solve
hell.
puzzles and traverse obstacles.
Same shit with Mario.
And it's much bigger
Princess
than
is
Dizzy
another
the
castle
Adventure.
shit.
The Aladdin Deck Enhancer version of this game is slightly different than the standalone cartridge. It plays a little faster and gives you 250 stars to collect instead of 100.
That's
Overall, another fun Dizzy game.
Oh,
America had
that's
big
sad.
plans for the Aladdin Deck Enhancer. They set aside $3 million for advertising and expected the device to account for 60% of their business in 1993.
Spend-
Comerica planned to release more than 35 games for the device that year.
Damn.
Magazines like Electronic Gaming Monthly wrote up previews. Codemasters was exploring making a version of the device for the Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis. On paper, the future looked bright for Comerica and the Aladdin Deck Enhancer.
Yeah.
But
it
the
should.
reality of the situation was much different. Internally, Comerica had major issues. Due to poor product quality, retailers got a lot of returns on Comerica products, including their joysticks and unlicensed games. Comerica's giftware division struggled due to an economic recession. Gift shops had trouble moving product, and Comerica was stuck with tons of inventory. By June of 1993, less than 5 months after the Aladdin Deck Enhancer was announced, Comerica filed for bankruptcy.
Damn.
It's not clear if the Aladdin Deck Enhancer ever got released. There are no known advertisements of it being for sale. If it did get out, it was a very limited release. So if the Aladdin Deck Enhancer was never released, how am I holding one right now?
Yeah.
Well, in 1996, a store based out of New Jersey called Video Game Connections bought a ton of old Comerica inventory from a liquidator out of Brooklyn, New York.
Yes.
The store owner estimated there were between 5,000 and 10,000 deck enhancers
Damn.
with similar quantities
I want to
of
buy
each
one
game.
now.
Over the years, even more liquidators began selling them. Listings soon popped up on eBay, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
Even today, you can buy an Aladdin with every game brand new for about $100.
Damn, that's pretty
The
good.
idea of
for
the
a
Aladdin
tool
Deck
retro
Enhancer
collection, so to
isn't a
speak.
bad one at all. Imagine if Nintendo included the standard cartridge chips within the Super Nintendo. Games would be way cheaper, since publishers would only have to manufacture the game's ROM chip. But Comerica simply didn't have the resources to launch a product like the Aladdin Deck Enhancer. The Aladdin also failed simply because it was a device for the NES. Yes, the Nintendo Entertainment System had a huge user base in 1993, but the industry was moving on to 16-bit systems.
Yeah.
Said
New
one former
technology,
Comerica
moving on.
employee, it was never going to work. We were 2 steps behind on the dance.
Damn.
That's all for this episode of The Gaming Historian. Thanks for watching.
Funding for Gaming Historian is provided in part by supporters on Patreon. Thank you.
Okay, I think that's the end of the video. I'm gonna pause it here. Here we are, paused. Yeah, that was very fascinating. That was just a bit of a history buff for me. I was just sort of just learning about the Aladdin deck enhancer. It was very fascinating to watch all the history. You know, it wasn't really gameplay or anything that much, but it was just fascinating to know the history about the product. I mean, $100 you can get it for with all the games brand new and everything. That's pretty cool. It's good to buy the Aladdin deck enhancer as a collector's edition, so to speak. You know, have something in your collection and show out, say, hey, I got the Aladdin deck enhancer, and someone goes, what the fuck is that? And, you know, you can explain. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Very fascinating to know the history about the Aladdin deck enhancer. Yeah, it's a shame they went out of business because it was a sound idea. It made sense, very smart, very strategic, not strategic. Just tripping up on my words now. Yeah, it was very smart plan. You know, finding a solution to make cheaper games. Unfortunately, the problem with that is that it always comes at a price. Even when it sounds good, so good to be true, there's always a price to pay, even for cheaper games. If you get like really cheap games and you think, oh yes, I got this for a budget, there's always a price to pay. There's always some sort of catch back in the day. You know, it was always a price. It was always a compromise. You had to sacrifice one thing for another. Yeah, very fascinating indeed to know the history of the Aladdin deck enhancer. Yeah, if you like this video, make sure to give a like, comment down below, make sure to subscribe to my channel if you enjoy my content. I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.